Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fair Pay for Nursing Virtual March. My name is Felicity Ward. I will be your host for this evening. I am not a nurse, in case you haven't guessed. I am a comedian. This is the first rally I've ever hosted from my bedroom. As you can see, we have some very expensive panelled wardrobes. It's also the first gig I've ever done in my slippers. So thank you for that. I am here I'm here because I love nurses. Actually, who doesn't love nurses? I'm sure you know some bad nurses. I don't. I only know wonderful, hardworking, caregiving, borderline alcoholic, sure, but you deserve it. And what you have gone through over the past year is absolutely extraordinary. And from the public, may I personally say that, well, you know what? I can only speak for myself. I think you're incredible. I think you're absolutely incredible. I think the whole world agrees that nurses should be paid the same as doctors because they're integral. You're absolutely integral to everything that happens. Sometimes I don't even know where to start because I love nurses so much. What you give, what you do, how you take care of patients. I did a fundraiser for RCN a couple of years ago, and there was nurses that were catching 3 buses. That had to be, everyone's being priced out of London, so they had to catch 3 buses to get into London to get to their job. And the one thing that they wanted was just more staff so they could take care of their patients. Not money. Come on, guys. Money, that's where it's at. But that's nurses, that you just want to be able to do your job well. And if anyone was in nursing for money, they've already left by now. But what we want to do today is we want to engage you. And I cannot imagine how hard it is. And it feels galling to ask you to do anything more after the year that you've had. And if I was a nurse and I was being asked to step up and campaign and rally, it would seem like a really, really big feat to try and achieve. And where are you getting your energy from anyway? But I want you to know that I'm here with you, and outside of tonight, I'm going to do everything that I can to get other people involved and make sure that you guys get the pay rise that you deserve. I've been taken care of many, many times in the UK, and I'm still astonished that this is a free public service. So the fact that we're not out there on the streets every day rallying, that there wasn't like full riots after the 1% announcement, baffles me, but I know that we are politically neutral here. I will say the clap for the NHS was a lovely idea, but I've just made a little list of things that you can't pay for with applause. A mortgage, or nurse's wage, sorry, rent. You can't pay for an Oyster card with applause, food, time with your family. So what you guys know you need, and what I know you need, is a very reasonable pay increase. London's so expensive anyway, so prohibitively expensive. So if we want you to be able to do the job that you deserve to do at the level you want to do it, with the care that you want to do it, then that means campaigning, that means putting pressure on the government. And I'm here for you and with you. And tonight we have some incredible speakers from all over the country. Something amazing about a virtual march is, no, we don't get to see each other face to face and stand by each other shoulder to shoulder. We can only do that emotionally. But what we've got tonight is amazing technology, and we're going to travel all over the country. What you're going to do is you're going to get to speak. You're going to hear speakers from not just all over the country, but all over the nation, the kingdom. Very difficult to come up with a word for all of the 4 countries, isn't it? Sometimes they don't feel as united. But anyway, we're politically neutral. We're going to be travelling to all 4 countries in the United Kingdom tonight and have speakers from all over the country. And we're going to have personal accounts. We're going to have experts. We're going to have everything. And tonight is really about celebrating who you are, your role, and that we all need to fight together so that we can make sure that that you get fair pay. So we might, I think my husband is bringing in a cup of tea. And that wouldn't happen at a corporate gig either. Thanks, honey.
No worries.
I wonder how you're enjoying that one at home. So I'm very loose, by the way. Just not like that, and I'm not drinking. This is just me as a person. I'm starting to feel like I may not have been the right choice to host this gig. So what we have tonight is we have incredible technology, and we're going to go on a virtual march together. So we're going to see on Google Earth, we're going to travel from city to city to where all of our different speakers are that we probably wouldn't get to speak to listen to if we were all congregating in one city. So we're actually really lucky to have everyone. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start the virtual march. We're going from Cavendish Square, and we're going to travel all the way to, get ready for it, glamorous Bromsgrove. Let's hit it, Matt. Ooh, Bromsgrove. Don't you feel fancy just being here? We have an incredible speaker tonight. We are so lucky to have her. She is the RCN Deputy President. Would you please welcome to speak tonight, Tracy Budding.
Thank you, Felicity, and great introduction, including the cup of tea from hubby. Well timed, brilliant. So first, can I start by saying a huge thank you for joining us tonight on this Fair Pay for Nursing virtual march. I know only too well how precious your free time is, and the RCN is grateful for you choosing to join us tonight. I haven't been RCN Deputy President for long, but I have been involved in the RCN for many years and a nurse for even longer. Having worked as a frontline nurse for 37 years plus, I continue to develop my skills and knowledge in order to become the expert in my chosen field of nursing, alongside experience many years of a real term pay cuts, and all whilst retrospective governments awarded themselves above inflation pay awards on top of ridiculous expenses, not forgetting their ability to be able to claim for second properties, all at the expense of me and you, the taxpayer, while nurses like us have had to pay for the privilege to even park our cars to go to work with no guarantees of a designated car park space when we reach there. I constantly ask myself, how is this fair? It should not have taken a pandemic to highlight the level of skill, knowledge and expertise all registered nurses, nursing associates and nursing support workers demonstrate on a daily basis, often going above and beyond their job descriptions to achieve high quality care for their patients. Nurses have been informing retrospective governments this for many years. It should not have taken a pandemic to highlight the amount of dedication, passion and commitment nurses show to their patients every single day by working many unpaid overtime hours or missing breaks in order to achieve safe care for their patients, mostly at the cost to their own physical and mental health and well-being. Nurses have been informing retrospective governments this for many years. It should not have taken a pandemic to highlight the many sacrifices nurses make on a daily basis to try and maintain safe standards of care, whilst covering huge staffing shortages across all specialities due to demand outweighing capacity, both within the NHS and social care, due to many years of sustained government cuts back to healthcare provision across the UK. Nurses have been informing retrospective governments this for many years. It is very clear to us all that all governments have not been listening to nurses for many years, although the Prime Minister continues to tell the press that he has spoken to nurses up and down the country, and they tell him pay is not your top priority. Well, I challenge him to speak to real nurses, not those in his dreams or those he clapped for in a pathetic media stunt outside 10 Downing Street. Those nurses working daily with unsafe staffing levels and poor skill mix due to poor workforce planning from retrospective governments. Those intensive care unit nurses who nursed him and thousands of other patients during this pandemic, even putting their own lives and their families at risk, daily going back to what some nurses described as a war zone. Those nurses who have lost colleagues and family and friends and have still gone back onto the front line to continue to look after the public, even when their own physical and mental health and well-being was affected by what they witnessed during these challenging times. Nurses tell me daily they are counting down the days they can leave nursing, either by retiring or just simply looking for alternative employment, following years of real-term pay cuts and more recently the total lack of respect and recognition for the skills, dedication and commitment they all have given, even during a global pandemic where they have all gone above and beyond and sacrificed so much, often at a personal cost to themselves, even risking their own families in order to care for others. We can't march through London today to Parliament Square and Downing Street, but our voice is louder than ever. The UK government can't shut its eyes closed anymore when everyone who knows why nursing staff deserve a pay rise and why we need it now. So I challenge the Prime Minister to act swiftly, as all nurses I speak to state they are counting down the days to when they can leave nursing. And with 50,000 nurses short, even before the pandemic, this situation is only going to get worse, not better. Listen to nurses, and I mean listen, and be honest about what you are hearing. Invest in nursing now and the future workforce plans. Take accountability for the errors formed over decades. Pay nurses what they deserve, as this is a safety critical profession without which patient care is and will suffer. Our fight for that fair pay is only just the beginning. Let's stay in this fight together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tracy. That was absolutely amazing. And I'm sure there was lots of cheering and nodding going on at home, people watching that. Yeah, we all feel that fervour for how poorly you've been treated, how disrespected you've been at a government level, and repeatedly and for decades. It's so outrageous. So I hear your fury and I echo it. So now we leave Tracy in Bromsgrove and we travel to Liverpool. Have we arrived in Liverpool? I haven't seen the pause sign. I think we have. I'm just going to assume that we have arrived in Liverpool. As you can see, I'm a technical genius, so try not to be intimidated by that. We are very lucky in Liverpool to have an incredible nurse practitioner. She's at a walk-in centre. She is Carmel O'Boyle. Please welcome her.
Thank you, Felicity. So I could tell you lots of stories, and I have told people lots of different stories about things this year, and I've made lots of people very miserable and cry a lot. But I wanted to ask you a question. So I want to know, what do you do? So I'm a nurse practitioner. I assess and I diagnose and I treat my patients. I was a trauma orthopaedic nurse and I cared for my patients pre and post operation and aided their rehabilitation. I'm an educator. I help students to become nurses. I do lots of different things for the RCN. I'm an RCN steward and I help people with workplace issues to receive fair treatment. I am a student, a single mum, a daughter, a sibling, a catechist, a musician. I'm a nurse. But what do you do? So I think one of the issues that we have as a profession is people, especially our government, don't really know or understand what we do. And in order for us to receive a fair wage, this needs to change. As nurses, we help people and we care, and that's absolutely right, but those words don't do justice to what we really do. Everyone cares and everyone has the ability to help. So can anyone be a nurse? I would hope that our education system is accessible enough for anyone with nursing aspirations to be able to achieve them, but notwithstanding the current issues around student funding, that's another shout out there. But can anyone carry the nursing gauntlet? I think the strength and courage that it takes to be a nurse is immeasurable. How many of us have said goodbye to a patient and consoled their families, cared for their bodies in the final honour of nursing duties, and then moved to the next patient to help someone to the toilet, to give out their medicine, to ease someone else's pain? And that takes guts and passion. The words help and care encompass so much that it's just too big to comprehend. We need to break it down and we need to change the language. Our profession has evolved in so many ways. Gone are the days of servitude and platitudes. We are scientists. As a child and older hair in the 80s, I would wait for the doctor to come and cannulate me. But now nurses are inserting PICC lines on the wards. Everything we do is accomplished because of an evidence base. Our brains are conditioned and educated to analyse, absorb information and deduce what's best for our patients. I'm a scientist. I was a fully fledged and proud nerd before I became a nurse. And as a student, I had the privilege of attending the Florence Nightingale Day at Westminster Abbey. We had a tour of the museum and I bought myself a wee treat, which you can see is this. And it's full of sweets. It's full of sweets. It's to remind me of all the things that nurses do. So our heads are full of science and our hearts are full of the art and courage of nursing. We assess our patients at every single opportunity, a skill that is so embedded in our education it becomes innate. Holding a hand gives the opportunity to feel the turgor of someone's skin, detect the rhythm of their heart, feel if they're hot or clammy, and let that person feel our warmth and compassion, our science and our art coming together. We are educated, educators, skilled, experts in our field, prescribers, innovators, leaders and advocates. We need people to understand what we do. And this year has shown how our profession, our healthcare family has stepped up and people have been reminded of the value and importance of healthcare. We've always been there and we always will. We open our arms to babies and close the eyes of the dying. From the cradle to the grave, the privilege of nursing. We are scientists, artists, creative practitioners. We span generations, transcend genders and creeds. We are safety critical, knowledgeable, professional and dedicated. We are nurses. We need our government to understand us, to really listen to us. This week has seen the nation in outrage over the proposed creation of a football super league. Outcries from fans about the people's game being monopolised for money. Imagine if 450,000 members of the RCN used our voices to challenge the government. Imagine if people shouted for us, and it's all up to us to make that happen. So next time someone asks you what you do, never ever say, I'm just a nurse. Please explain. We need to help people understand what we do, recognise the value of nursing, emphasise how important and amazing you are. Amongst all the other things that we are nurses. Tell them your value because we are worth a fair wage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carmel. That was just brilliant. And I think that one of the traps with loving what you do is that, you know, that adage, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I think people think that about people who love their job. They go, oh, they don't need money because they love it. And it's like, you can't live on loving your job, you know, like, and I think what it costs to be a nurse, physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially, at the moment is so disproportionate to the pittance that you get paid, you know, like it costs so much to be a nurse. It costs so much of yourself to be a nurse and you do it because you love it and you have to, you know, it's like a passion. My auntie is a nurse, but we need to recognise at an international level that needs to be equated with money, because you can't give and you can't be and you can't do everything that you are if you're going to be depleted in every other way in your life. So thanks so much, Carmel. I'm sure there was so much recognition out there. Also, just to let you know that I can read all the comments. So if there's anything in particular loving that you'd like to feed back to one of the speakers, or if you have a question for me, if you've got an amazing nurse story that you would like to tell me in the comments, please do that and I'll read. Now we travel from Liverpool to New Edlington. I'll be honest, I've never been to New Edlington. I've been to most of these other places. So here we have an accredited RCN learning representative. She's wonderful. I spoke to her before the rally. Would you please welcome Praline Beardall?
Hello there, my name is Praline Beardall. I'm a sister in plastics theatres and I work in Leeds. I would describe my job as demanding, challenging, high-pressured, with patients that often undergo life-changing procedures. I find it thoroughly enjoyable and I'm very passionate about my job. On a personal level, low pay has had an impact on every aspect of my life, but primarily it has the greatest impact on my work-life balance. Not having any childcare means that I cannot do overtime, and that is an option that used to be previously available to me, just as a way to maintain my living standards. Not having any savings and living paycheck to paycheck, as both what me and my husband earn, means we only are able to cover the basic living costs. I recall that during maternity, I had to make the hard decision between getting into debt or sacrificing time with my daughter in those first delicate years of her life and going back to work early. The struggles that we faced saving for a mortgage have led to us borrowing from the bank of mum and dad and also from the bank. The cost of living is going up and our wage is not reflecting that increase. During the pandemic, I was reassigned to help in intensive care units, as many of my other colleagues were, working in different teams in completely new environments, in a completely new job role with full PPE on. It was very daunting, even with the 8 years experience I have as a nurse. I can't imagine what it must have been like for my junior colleagues. Having spent time talking to other nurses on the ground, it is very apparent that low pay has a great impact on staff retention, attracting new staff, which then has an impact on the patient and leaves services being overstretched. I strongly believe that it is very important for fair pay for nurses to be priority on the government agenda, so that nurses feel valued, so that they feel recognised for their experience, for their skills and for their knowledge, and for their level of responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Praline. That was wonderful. And it's, childcare, like how many jobs are impacted, how much progression is impacted by childcare. And it's like childcare is seen like it's a privilege and a luxury to have children. So if you have them, you look after it yourself. Not that nurses are the cornerstone of the country. They're the cornerstone of the healthcare system, and you're expected to have low pay, but then also pay extortionate fees for childcare. My husband and I I'm fairly unemployed at the moment, grateful for the work here, thank you so much. But COVID's really affected that. We pay for childcare and it has a huge impact on us, but we're not at minimum wage, and we're also not working double shifts round the clock, sometimes unpaid, because you guys go above and beyond. So it's the same as was mentioned before, parking at hospitals. It's an outrage, and I'm really sorry this isn't at 10 Downing Street now, and I'm sorry that Boris Johnson isn't here, because I would go up into his face and I would say all of these things in a very loving and non-threatening way, because we are politically neutral. We are a union and we're going to fight for this. Thank you so much, Praline. And now we head from New Edlington to Newcastle. Wonderful stuff. We are now at Newcastle, and we are speaking to when we did a run through of this, I skipped over Newcastle accidentally, and one of the speakers, who is coming on now, she started in January this year to get an MSc in nursing science at Northumbria. She's a wonderful woman, and I'm very excited to hear her speak. Please welcome to the rally, Rebecca Lowe.
Hi, thank you, Felicity. Yeah, my name is Rebecca Lowe. I am so pleased to be speaking at this event tonight with you all. I think I'm the only nursing student to speak today, and I'm super new to the nursing profession, as I only started my nursing degree in January this year, as Felicity just said. Before deciding to change career, I was a civil servant for 10 years. So before making this big, scary but exciting change to retrain as a nurse. So I'm still really, in that really new, excited phase. It's been only 3 months, as I see, since I started my nursing degree, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. That said, I've experienced such a culture shock when I started my first placement on a COVID respiratory ward in February. I've been in absolute awe of the nurses and other healthcare staff that work tirelessly for all the patients on the wards. I feel privileged to have had the opportunity to see firsthand the amazing work all the healthcare workers are doing on a day-to-day basis with little complaint, and now to also be a part of this team. Myself, I'm really, really honoured. I wanted to speak today because I have seen both sides. I've developed policy in government and I've been well paid for it. I'm now working on the ground with patients in line with policies set by those up high, and I'm taking a huge pay cut as a result. I knew this going in, but I wasn't prepared for what is the sheer amount of responsibility on these nurses' shoulders. The pay they get simply doesn't reflect or respect this responsibility and the amazing and complex job that they do day in, day out. I'm obviously a student at the moment and I'm getting paid nothing. I'm using a lot of my savings and taking out more loans to fund my way through university to become a nurse. Money is very tight right now, and I can see it's tight for my colleagues on the ward as well. I just can't fathom in my head the difference between what I got paid in the civil service and what I will get paid when I hopefully qualify as a nurse in just under 2 years' time, given the huge difference in responsibility. This is why I wanted to speak up today, to add my voice to this worthy campaign. I've still got so much to learn and I have a long path ahead of me to meet the fantastic care standards of the nurses I've had the privilege of working alongside literally in the last 3 months only. But that's why I want to join this fight for fairer pay for nurses, so it is actually fair and reflects the immense complexity of skill and responsibility on all our nurses' shoulders. So thank you very much for listening.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. And just another cost of being a nurse, like you've got to study, you take out student loans, and then you're also supposed to pay that back while you're not getting paid a wage that enables you to live any kind of life. Like living paycheck to paycheck as a nurse is so outrageous. You're out there literally saving people's lives. You've kept this country afloat for a full year in what can only be described as an international trauma, like a pandemic. This country has been resting on your shoulders, and how we repay you is by giving 1%. Like, I'm so fired up about this, and I promise, I just want everyone to know that from now on, if there's any nurses out there who need me for anything, I will use what little power I have in social media, and I can engage people. I'm more than happy to be available to you if there's anything coming up. This is so outrageous to me. It's so outrageous, and I'm so passionate about what you do and what you've done for us as a country. We're out there and we're supporting everyone that's been to war. We all respect that, and these are people that have been to war and don't do that. You guys are out there on the front line of this every single day, and you continue to do it. You continue to sacrifice. You continue to get paid terribly, and the very least that we can do is equity. That's the very, very least that we can do. So thanks for your perspective, your student perspective on that, Rebecca. It's really important. So now we travel from Newcastle into Scotland to Kilmarnock. I'm going to try saying that correctly, Kilmarnock. And we're going to go via Scottish Parliament on the way, just to glance at it. wonderful stuff. We have arrived in Scotland. My sweet Scotland, I miss you. Our next speaker has done everything. She's just done everything there is to do in the RCN. She's a senior charge nurse. She's an RCN steward and health and safety representative. She's chair of RCN Ayrshire and Iran. She's the chair of the RCN Scottish Board. I mean, I cannot wait to see what she has to say. Please welcome our next speaker, Julie Lambeth.
Hi, thanks Felicity. And yeah, as you've said, I'm chair of RCN Scotland Board, and it's a position that I'm really proud to be in. I've been a nurse for over 25 years, and I genuinely do love the job I do, despite the challenges that we face, and I'm proud to be part of such a great team. But the events of the last year have made it even clearer that things do need to change. We're working harder than ever before. We feel less valued, and the problems we experienced before the pandemic, like short staffing, we're still facing them. You know, low staffing levels continue to have a huge impact in patient safety, staff morale and well-being. And on to pay, I found a pay slip from 13 years ago. And 13 years ago, I was working as a band 6 nurse, top band 6, 33.75 hours. And now I work night shift, I work weekends. I'm now a band 7. I have got more responsibility, more stress, I'm working more hours. And that difference in 13 years of my pay slip was £500. That works out at £38 a year that I've had as a pay rise. Do you know, and it doesn't even start to cover the increased cost of living that we're living with. £38 a year in those 13 years. That is what change I've had in my pay. That's why I absolutely support the Fair Pay for Nursing campaign. Now in Scotland, we have been offered, the Scottish Government have offered us a pay deal, and it's between 2% and 5.4%, from the higher bands getting the 2% to the lower bands at 5.4%. While it's better than the 1% that the UK Government are proposing at the moment, it's still far way off from the 12.5% that the RCN are asking for, and that's why I absolutely support the RCN's recommendation that we recommend that our members in Scotland reject this offer of 4%. I'm asking everybody to get behind this campaign in Scotland and participate in the consultative ballot. It's out until the 5th of May. We need all our members to cast their vote. A Fair Pay Award will go towards helping retain experienced staff and attract and recruit new staff to the nursing profession. Now, to use our voice, we need to speak up for nursing and fight for the Fair Pay Award that I believe we all truly deserve. So please, I want everyone to get on board and support the Fair Pay for Nursing campaign. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Julie. And what a depressing find, finding your old payslip. I mean, come on. It's so insulting. I know that I am supposed to be a comedian, but I think I'm too incandescent with rage to be funny at the moment. I hope everyone who's watching this is getting as fired up as I am, and that we can all be a part of this campaign, and that we can bring our voices together, get engaged. And, you know, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get people that have been disillusioned, people that are, as someone mentioned in the comments, demoralised and exhausted. It's really hard to get those people motivated, and it's completely understandable. But we all need to get together if we do want to make change. We need all of our voices, 450,000 members. We can do it. It's just, you know, it's one person. Let's pretend it's COVID. It's one person can affect 10 people. They can affect 10 more people. We've got to pretend we're as powerful as COVID. I don't know if that's a good analogy, or if you didn't like it, let's pretend I didn't say it. Thanks so much, Julie. We head now from Kilmarnock. Oh, so embarrassing. I mean, anyway. And now we head over to Bangor in Northern Ireland. So our next speaker, that was nearly English. Our next speaker is an anaesthetic nurse at the Ulster Hospital. Would you please welcome Lindsay Thompson?
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today as we are doing our Fair Pay for Nursing virtual rally. The past few years have been particularly difficult for nurses in Northern Ireland. COVID-19 has taken its toll on all nursing staff, but prior to COVID, Northern Irish nurses had to take the unprecedented strike action over pay parity and safe staffing levels, and this is because of issues that we had with our own government. Yes, that pay is successful, but now we find ourselves in a situation where we're now having to fight for fair pay with the rest of our UK counterparts again. It's no secret the NHS is struggling. In Northern Ireland, our waiting lists were the highest waiting lists across the UK, and that has only got worse over the last year. Those lists have got longer, and all that has done is add additional stress and pressure to an already overstretched workforce. As nurses, it just feels like we are constantly fighting a never-ending battle. When I qualified 10 years ago, it was a real struggle to actually get a job as a nurse in Northern Ireland. A lot of my cohort had to move to the mainland to get a job. That's not the case anymore. Newly qualified nurses are able to pretty much have their pick of jobs here in Northern Ireland, and unfortunately that's not because we have been given extra funding for extra nursing posts. That is because we have so many nursing vacancies in Northern Ireland after years of austerity that we cannot fill those nursing vacancies, and that is just adding again increased pressure on. And this is all down to the fact that we do not have fair pay. We are unable to retain and recruit nurses to fill these vacancies that we so desperately need. And it's just becoming more and more difficult to stay positive when you see the challenges that nurses are facing daily, especially over this last year. And when you see the amount of nurses who are leaving at alarming rates, either through retirement or through job changes because they have simply had enough. One of the best nurses that I have ever worked with has taken that decision to retire early later on this year. And I am heartbroken over that. And I'm heartbroken that I am losing her. She has been an absolute fabulous mentor to me. But I'm absolutely devastated that after the years of service that she has given to this profession, that she feels so deflated that she doesn't feel that she can stay. She's simply done. And it is just an absolutely devastating blow to the nurses who are coming behind, who aren't going to get the experience, her skills and her expertise. And that is the same, that's across every level of nursing. We're experiencing that across everywhere in the UK, the amount of nurses that are leaving. And it just makes me wonder, will I last as long as she has?
Yeah.
Because she is so amazing. And 2020, it was the year of the nurse, the Who's year of the nurse. And what a year it was. Nurses shone like never before. Our skills were highlighted on a global scale. But that has come with such a physical and mental, emotional difficulties for nurses, and that is going to stay with nursing for years and years to come. And it just makes you wonder, is it worth it when we are not valued, we are not given the fair pay that we so desperately need. And there's no doubt that we do have the public support, and as a nurse from Northern Ireland, we've seen that in across during strike action, and I am forever grateful for that. But we're called angels and we're called superheroes, and that sentiment is lovely, but we are not either of those things. We are highly skilled professionals and we deserve to be paid as such. I am degree level qualified, the same as a teacher, the same as any other allied health professional, and we are not valued the same with our salaries. 60% of nurses in Northern Ireland are still at a band 5 despite having decades of experience, and that is because we do not have the same pay progression and opportunities to progress. And as we've talked about childcare, the increase in that, and when I look and I see that my pay is not upkeeping with my job. It's not upkeeping with the cost of living, and that just feels like a slap in the face. And I just wonder, will we ever get to the point where we don't have to fight for everything, and when our government will actually recognise exactly what we are worth? So guys, get involved. You advocate daily for your patients. Please start advocating for your profession. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, it's it's having to constantly, like, on top of the fact that you're already out there working overtime, you're already trying to give to your patients, you're trying to give to your family, then you need to be out there marching, and you get the bare minimum. So it means you have to march again and again and again, and that exhausts everyone. You know, people get what's it called, compassion fatigue. They're like, oh, what are they complaining about last and now? You know, it's so humiliating and it's so degrading. But I believe this time, what I've just decided after this, I'm going to go live on my Instagram and I'm going to get everyone to sign the petition, and I'm also going to put the donations link up. I know that donations are not what we are fighting for, but it's the bare minimum that we can be doing in the meantime while this government gets their act together. I won't swear, but I wanted to. So thank you so much, Lindsay, for sharing your experience about what it's like over in Northern Ireland. And now we travel from Northern Ireland, we go back across the water, down to Wales and down to Cardiff. And I didn't make it clear there that we were stopping past the Welsh Assembly Parliament as well. Now that we're in Wales, I would like to welcome a brilliant registered nurse and the RCN steward for Cardiff and Vale. Please welcome Rhiann Wright.
Hi, thank you. I'm a registered nurse, although now I'm full-time RCN steward. My background's in haematology and ITU nursing. A few years ago, I wasn't as fortunate as I am now. So I'm fortunate enough now to be part of a two-income family. This hasn't always been the case. I'm aware that nursing is largely so. A few years ago, I was a single parent living on a nurse's wage, and it wasn't easy. I could just about get by on my wage, but not without the support of my parents and not without borrowing on my overdraft. I couldn't afford holidays. These were a luxury. I was lucky enough on some occasions to go on holidays, would pay for us to go with them. I was a full-time mum, a full-time nurse, and I could not afford to live independently without extra financial help. I was a deputy sister at the time, and yet I could not afford to take my daughter out, covered the bills. If anything went wrong with my car or my, I would get into further debt using my overdraft or credit card. I know from representing nurses that this is not an isolated problem, and a lot of my colleagues struggle financially. In the last 12 months, nurses who are already burnt out due to short staffing have had to step up, flex up and give more. Nurses have had to be adaptable and say yes to every ask from their manager. Alongside my RCN role, I, like many other nurses, have worked in 3 different roles in the last 12 months. I've worked on a ward, I've worked in the bereavement team, and I'm currently giving mass vaccination centre. I'm not holding myself in high esteem here or asking for any praise, but I just want to highlight that this is what nurses out complaint throughout this pandemic. We have taken these challenges with them and given our all, as we always do, in every pursuit. We have done this in physically challenging and emotionally challenging environments under immense pressures. This alone, I feel, deserves a substantial pay rise. A pay rise which means nurses don't have to work bank and agency just to make ends meet, that they can afford the basics as well as a well-deserved holiday for rest and recuperation. I know many nurses have financial challenges, and we need to stand together and say this is not good enough. And as professionals, we deserve more. We deserve a decent pay rise so that we can provide for our families without having to borrow from family members or to build up debt. We are professionals who have worked hard to become nurses and continue to study to maintain our professional practice. We need the government and the NHS to recognise this, and we must not accept a tenuous pay offer. We must stand up for more. Thank you.
Yeah, they keep offering less than what you need, not less than you deserve, but less than you need. And it is so demoralizing and so humiliating. And it must be really difficult not to accept crumbs when you need crumbs just in the meantime. So yeah, I really hope that we can all stand strong and ask for that pay rise that you all deserve. Thanks so much again, Rhiannon. We now travel from Cardiff over to Plymouth. Wonderful stuff. Here in Plymouth, we have the Senior Sister for UHP, Ophthalmic, OPD and Urgent Care since 2005 until May this year. Will you please welcome to speak Vicky Brotherton?
Good evening, everybody. I believe that every member of the nursing team, regardless of band or title in the NHS or the private sector, we've really worked hard and long to gain our qualifications, whether that is a care certificate or a PhD. These qualifications enable us to care expertly and professionally for all of our patients or our clients. The skills, knowledge, professionalism and experience have helped so many patients recover or have a caring, supported death during this pandemic. Without all of these amazing committed nursing colleagues, the government would have many more COVID-related deaths to account for. We're now broken. We're being expected to resume business as usual when so many of my colleagues are mentally and physically broken. We all deserve to be recognised for our service to patients and clients before, during and post-pandemic, by giving us a fair pay rise of 12.5% equally across all Agenda for Change pay bands as part of a one-year pay deal. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Vicky. Yeah, it's the bare minimum that we should be giving you. And I'm sure that there's lots of nodding at home over, you know, how broken everyone is after this past year and expecting you guys to just get back on with the job without, not even financially, but giving you no space to recuperate, to grieve the past year, to recover, to heal, to re-enter back into some kind of normal work life. It's just madness. So thanks so much, Vicky, for your candour. We now travel from Plymouth over to Brighton, to Stony Beach to Brighton. Well, it looks like sand on Earth, and I know that's lies. Next, we have an advanced nurse practitioner in sexual health working in primary care in Peacehaven. Will you please welcome our next speaker, Ruth Bailey?
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for having me and inviting me to talk about why I feel so passionately supportive of this absolutely critical campaign. I've been nursing for about 35 years, and during that time I've seen an enormous evolution of the nursing profession, becoming the complex, safety critical, degree-based profession that it is today. And over those years I've seen many changes, and I've been through some pretty turbulent times, but I've never seen nursing in the state of exhaustion that it is today. I think it's really important to remember that we entered into this pandemic 40,000 vacancies short. The reality of widespread chronic nursing vacancies is that it compromises care and it puts patients at risk. It means sick patients are denied monitoring and nursing intervention that could alter their demise. It means patients in a state of anxiety are left in distress. It means oozing dressings are left unchanged. It means clinics run late and theatre lists don't run at all. There's just nothing more stressful than coming to work at the start of the day and knowing that you simply won't be able to deliver the evidence-based care that you're trained to deliver, that you want to deliver, because you're short-staffed. And nurses have been asking themselves, is it worth it? Is it worth the stress? And they've been voting with their feet. And that's why I think we need a realistic and meaningful pay rise to reflect the very complex needs of the job and to make it worthwhile. We need to retain experienced nurses like me so that staffing levels are adequate and nurses are supported to give the expert care that we know from our own nursing research transforms lives and improves patient outcome. We need to retain our nursing workforce in all of its diversity to ensure that we have the safe levels of staffing to lead services, to run clinics, to deliver care, to research best practice, to coach and teach and support our student workforce. Over this pandemic, this year, like no other year, we have shown our worth. The contribution of nursing through COVID-19 has been extraordinary, and still it continues. The country is starting to recover from COVID-19, but the demands on nursing are increasing. We're working tirelessly to reset services, and we're looking after the mental health fallout of COVID-19. We are the powerhouse behind the vaccination campaign. Nursing is integral to the nation's survival, and it's central to national health, and it cannot survive without a realistic and meaningful pay rise to secure and sustain the workforce. And that's why I'm asking each and every one of us to get behind this campaign. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ruth. That was really inspiring. Yeah, I'm just blown away by everyone tonight. Everyone's so articulate, passionate, clear, and I hope that everyone's feeling invigorated at home that's watching this, and everyone's feeling fired up and ready to fight again for this. We now travel from Brighton up to sunny Luton. Get your earplugs in because we're near the airport. I believe we've arrived. I think we've arrived. Now in Luton, we have a theatre nurse and PACU recovery practitioner. Will you please welcome the wonderful Eva Amondi?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you to speak about the circumstances we go through. Theatre nurse, I'm also a recovery practitioner, and I work in the general wards as well. And I do accident and emergency as well. I'm also a steward of Luton and Dunstable Hospital, an accredited steward. I'm also serving in the Eastern Region Board as a member. And so I'm a very, very proud nurse to begin with. My plea to the government today is to give us a decent pay rise. And I'm not going to speak only from the page of the naturalized nurses. I'm also going to speak on behalf of the overseas healthcare professionals who are a group of people who are recruited into this country to come and help the situation, because the UK has not been able to produce enough nurses to look after the healthcare of this nation. This season has been a sickening triple stress. The need for this pay rise that we are talking about today is absolutely necessary, and it is crucial, and it is very, very important that the government listens to us. Nurses generally have to struggle to put food on their tables. They actually just survive. And given the recent pandemic, I can only say that it has only shed a light on how much the value of nurses is. Probably before the pandemic, people just used to wonder, who are nurses? What do they do? Are they carers? What do they do actually? Till the pandemic came, that is when people exactly knew what nurses are about. Nurses stay by the patient's side 24/7. Nurses are the ones who will receive that patient, and they're the ones who will say goodbye to that patient, to wherever destination that patient is taking, whether it is home or the other side of life. It is the nurse who says goodbye. So it's very, very important that the nurses are listened to, because we are an absolute necessity. The need for this pay rise has been spoken about not only today, but for a long time. Nurses have been campaigning for pay rise, and the government has constantly given us a deaf ear. And so it is high time the government put its act together to listen to us. The trending World Health Crisis, this crisis that came upon the world, dominated the media for a year, and everybody had to go on furlough. Only healthcare professionals had to stay on the battlefield, because they're the only ones who could be entrusted with this enemy to fight it. And yet we went out there every day, gruesome shifts. We were doing very long shifts, and it was quite tiring. It was quite harrowing and quite emotionally draining. The physical strains we went through were unimaginable. So the pandemic was something that just unearthed what we actually go through. Now, if I talk about the nurse, the nurse, as a human being, nurses also have needs. Nurses need to put food on the table. Nurses have children, they have dependents that they need to feed. They are not superhumans. They are the ones who are entrusted to look after our loved ones, to care for them. When at the end of the day we cannot look after them, we will take them to the nurses to look after them. That is how much we are trusted by everyone upon this earth, to take care of the health of the nation. Now, the government has not been listening. Even after such a pandemic came and showed what it was or what it means to be a nurse, the government has not bothered. Healthcare professionals have had challenges and have had to carry the mantle of hope and fight in the battle in a bid to defeat the coronavirus enemy. We have been soldiers in the battalion as the NHS and healthcare professionals who are holding the banner high up. The commitment, the courage, the compassion and the competence, the caring and the communicating attributes that we were using to hold these pillars were incredible. It's been tough. And this is a once in a century pandemic. Pandemics only come once in a century. Yet, with these low salaries we get, we can hardly sustain our basic standards. We can hardly meet our needs. Even with that low salary, you look at the tax systems, it takes away all that money from us. Yet to let you know that there are this group of nurses also, that on top of what every nurse, the standard nurse is going through, they still have to go through a lot much more. The overseas healthcare professionals, they have to go a lot through much more than what you see that the general standard nurse who is in this country cannot cope with. They have no recourse to public funds. It means there is no access to childcare. There is no access to affordable housing. There is no access to public funds that could support them in times of need. They have no relatives. They don't have any backup support. These people constantly have to do extra shifts the 3 days or the 2 days that they have to rest. Remember, they are on a visa, which means that their contract is 37.5. That takes like 4 to 5 days of the week. That money is not enough. After paying their rent, their bills, maybe a bit of their bills, they are left with nothing. Because the government gives them with one hand and takes it from the other hand, because they have to pay the visa fees, they have to constantly renew their visas, they remain with nothing completely. These nurses have to work throughout. It's harrowing, it's gruesome experience. They don't have any rest, they don't have any holidays. Even when they are unwell, they have to work because they don't have any backup. The shift patterns in itself in the healthcare system, everybody knows, are so unfriendly for organizing childcare. Because if you have to do night shifts, you have to do twilight shifts, sometimes you report to work at 5, you come back at 1 a.m. If you've got to get childcare, because you're not allowed to access the subsidized childcare, means you have to go private childcare. Any private childminder who will accept to stay with your child at night will charge you double. Already it's expensive, then you have to be charged double. Talk about housing. We are not allowed to access council housing, which may be affordable. So nurses, what do overseas healthcare professionals do? They lump themselves up in 4 to maybe 3 to 4 in one house, just in a bid to try and cope with the rent, because they only have to get private housing. Now, that is not healthy. And the sense only was seen during the pandemic, when one nurse living in a house with 4 others, if they caught the virus, it means all of them have to go off. Because if you are exposed to one, then it means you have to self-isolate. This same stress that our colleagues face is doubled or tripled for the overseas healthcare professionals. I'm talking from my own experience as an overseas healthcare professional nurse. So I'm giving you my story. Most of the overseas healthcare professional nurses who are still on visa, who are on work permit, may not be able to tell their stories because they are shy, or they are afraid of intimidation, or they are just embarrassed that, oh, I decided to give up my country to come to this country that I chose to live in permanently, to call my home, and here I am struggling. How will the world see me? How will my people back at home see me? They give up everything and they come over here because they've chosen to call this place home. But what they realize was anything near their expectation. The COVID pressures have been high, severe shortages. In a normal NHS system, we always have to deal with severe shortages, work overload, winter pressures, and low salaries. The COVID pressures just blew it up. There was constant fear, there was nervousness, exhaustion, there was worry of catching infection, long COVID, higher exposures, there was trauma of loss of our own colleagues, beside our own patients. It was horrible. The suffering, the distress we went through was so much. And the psychological, mental distress that we've been dealing with is not comprehensible. Now, I can submit to the nation, or let me talk to the government, that we need the peace of mind to give the health care that the nation gets from us. If we ourselves are not peaceful in our mind because of what the government is subjecting us to, how then do they expect us to transfer that health to the people that are entrusted in our care? It's not making sense at all. Now, what I wanted to say again is that these overseas healthcare professionals, they pay taxes, they contribute to the economy of this country, yet they are treated like they are less. These people suffer. When we as a family, NHS family, suffer together, they suffer double because they barely have nothing. Both have worked hard during this pandemic, and it is not only during the pandemic that we have worked hard. The NHS has been suffering of staffing issues. We have been suffering of workload. The workload is always too much. When it comes to winter pressures, we bear the stress. But as nurses, we are constantly committed. We never walk out because we love what we are doing. It would be important for the government to be reciprocal, to give back what we give. They should not just be on the receiving end, that they want to get services from us, and yet they ignore us, they don't show us any value, they don't respect us. It would be important for the government to look at us and say that, oh, when this nation was not able to function, only these people are in the battlefield functioning. So they need to think twice and reconsider their decision. This 12.5% is the minimum we are asking for. We are in a very, very difficult situation right now. We are very exhausted after working throughout. We have not had any rests. And so my plea is just for the government to appreciate these people who put their lives on the line. They have had high exposure levels. Some of them have even suffered from COVID. Some of them have lost their lives, so their children are left out there. Some of them have been having this long COVID, post-COVID problem, and now we are so psychologically, emotionally, and physically traumatized. We are requesting this government to reconsider their stand. When the nation stopped, we carried on. We have not had a break. Some of our overseas healthcare professionals have not seen their loved ones. We have had to bury our loved ones virtually. Please consider the pay rise, because this is the only way you can motivate the staff members.
Yeah.
When you give them better wages, better staffing is improved, better workload comes, we have less burnout, and there is more students signing up maybe to join nursing, because they will no longer see nursing as a suffering profession. And then we will even have the resolved staffing issues. After such a harrowing year, nursing staff deserve motivation, and they deserve the incentive of the percentage that we are asking for, which is only 12.5%. The government needs to put their acts together, and they need to consider this. Otherwise, I can tell you that the overseas healthcare professionals and some of the nurses, like I'm telling you, have been surviving on charities. We've been surviving on food banks. We've been surviving on help from friends, overdrafts. We have been surviving on loans, because the government has put us in that position. We are actually living a destitute life. When we live like this, it means it's as good as living in the streets and coming to give care to the health, to the members of this nation. That is not good. We are in a first world, we are in the UK, and we deserve better than that. I'm in the category of nurses who have experienced most difficult financial burdens. Yet, I'm here. I'm still happy to be a nurse. I work with my head up high. I had to send my children home when I could not cope. My little children whom had never been separated from, I had to send them back home. I had to send my children to study abroad because the government does not allow me to access the home fees rates for my children, because I'm an overseas healthcare professional. I had to be separated and torn apart with my family, whom had never been separated from, just because of the harsh visa conditions of this country. Until last year, when I campaigned for the immigration health surcharge fee and got it scrapped off, because that was my original campaign, I campaigned because of what my overseas healthcare professionals and I was going through. It was not a selfish campaign. And the government needs to listen. When we are asking for this, that is what nurses are going through. I'm talking on behalf of the overseas nurses, because we are all suffering as nurses in the NHS family, but the overseas healthcare professional has a triple share of that suffering. The government needs to listen to us. They need to appreciate us and show they value us, because when the nation stopped, we carried on to fight for this nation. It's important that they listen to this plea and take it seriously. We cannot continue living like this. Otherwise, it's like telling us to go and live on the streets and come to give services. We need some peace of mind when we are giving these services. We are human beings, and we have children, we have loved ones, just like every other person. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Eva. That was, yeah, I was with you every step of the way. That extra pressure of being international, being asked to come into the UK and then getting treated like, well, I won't say the word, but yeah, I can't imagine the horror and the trauma of the pandemic and then having to send your kids away. It makes me feel really sad and really sick. So thanks so much for your honesty and your passion. I'm sure we all feel invigorated, not invigorated, activated after your speech. Thank you so much. And now from Luton, we go to London. now that we're in London, I would like to introduce a registered nurse with 10 years clinical experience working at St George's University Hospital, Pat Yigan.
Hello, everybody. Mine is going to be as short as sweet, just like Felicity. Well, my name is Patricia Yigon, as Felicity has exactly said. I am a registered nurse. I am a learning rep, and I am the brancher of Southwest Inner London, and I'm a board member. So just to give you a brief of what I do. Yes, I became a nurse because I wanted to help people, to give them care and compassion when they needed it most. For me, nursing is a privilege. You all know how hard it is right now working on the front line. It demands so much of you, both physically and mentally. A lot of our colleagues are going through a lot at the moment, mentally. The arrival of COVID-19 was sudden and brutal. No one was ready for the shock it brought. It had devastating effects on all of us, both we, the nurses, and the patients, relations, and what have you. Hearing and reading about what our colleagues around the whole world we are facing, how they were struggling and working hard to save lives. And I am quite sure a lot of us saw it physically and all over the world, a lot of bruises on their faces for wearing masks that we are not prepared for. We saw it. And that's the time that we were crying. And I said, I don't want to share a tears tonight, but when I called the word crying, it brought a little tear to my eyes. But if I start now, I won't stop. Let me finish what I wrote, then I'll be able to cry more. As a nurse, I knew this is what I was trained to do. As nurse, we put our patients first. We don't even talk about pay. We just want to see the person that we are looking after become well. Every day I want to work. I went to work wondering if I will have enough PPE. All of you know what PPE is, because that is the struggle we are going through when the pandemic started. And it caused a lot of problem for each and every one in the hospital, especially nurses, to keep me and my colleagues safe. We lost too many of our nurses' family, and may their soul rest in perfect peace. Amen. Their death could have been avoided if the right materials were in stock, and if at all we even knew this was coming. We deserve better. Every day I worry about bringing COVID home to my family. It meant that I couldn't hug my family because I wanted to keep them safe from the virus. This hurt my heart, and I'm sure all my colleagues had the same experiences. Before COVID hit, nursing was already on its knees in London. Staff morale was low, staff shortages were high. Staff shortages in the hospital meant during the COVID, a lot of staffs were redeployed, just like my colleagues have said. We know lots of nurses around the UK are suffering from the trauma of fighting the virus. Now it's our turn to be looked after. Look after means not clapping of hands, because we have had enough of clapping. Clapping of hands should be reserved for us nurses clapping for our patient when they are well and they are being discharged home. It's our job to clap and feel happy that this patient has recovered and is on their way home. But we don't want the public to clap anymore, and especially the government. When the government announce, they will give us only 1%. Come on. Come and see our colleagues. They were like falling down on the floor at work saying, what is all this? We deserve better. What is all this? The government should know that we deserve better. And we are quite sure a lot of these governments, we are affected in one way or the other. I don't want to mention the name of the Prime Minister himself, but leave that aside. And I thought, is that all our sacrifice that is worth? For me, it was nearly more shocking than the COVID-19 pandemic itself. I could not feel less valued and unsupported by our government. Too many nurses are struggling financially, as all my colleagues have said tonight. My colleagues and I started looking back and thinking about how we survive in paying our rent and bills and feeding our families. 1%, come on, 1% is an insult on us, to us. We won't stand for this. And I mean it, we won't stand for this. The government must go back and look at what they have done to nurses. We deserve 12.5% pay rise. We deserve respect. And we deserve better. And our plea tonight is the government should think twice. And I'm still wondering, how do they go to bed at night and sleep when they mention that 1%? Come on, 1%. It's a big insult on nurses. And one thing I have to conclude here is, doctors, when they want to go on strike or demonstration, they down tools and all of them go. The nurses, because of our because of the compassion we have, and because of the love of our patients, we don't have such mind. We step back. We don't even want to go on just to hold a placard. We don't. I'm sure it's high time for us to start that. We have to do that at some point to let the government listen to us. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pat. What a privilege to hear you speak. And yeah, I have nothing left to say. Everyone has just been brilliant tonight, so brilliant. And I'm personally so grateful to hear all of your experience, strength and hope. Now we go over to our final speaker. We travel down to the march, where I'm sure we all want to be banging on the door, to Downing Street. And yeah, we head over to Downing Street now. Our final speaker tonight is the chair of the RCN Trade Union Committee and a senior charge nurse. Would you please welcome our final speaker? It is Graham Reevy.
Thank you very much, Felicity. It's great to be here tonight, and what a fantastic night it is. Your Trade Union Committee wish to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight, because actually this means a lot. This means everything. We are standing here tonight outside Downing Street. I'm actually in my house in Glasgow, but I'm virtually in Downing Street. But before I start tonight, I want you to join me. I want you to join me as we remember our colleagues. We remember our colleagues who have paid the ultimate price. Every mother, every father, every sister, every brother, every son, every daughter who have lost their lives during this terrible, terrible crisis. Join me for a minute's silence to reflect on our loss. Colleagues, we are here tonight represented by the nursing family across the United Kingdom, and we stand virtually outside of the most famous front door in the world. I reflect that behind that door lies the elected leader of this country, a man we have charged to govern the country, to care for society, and to look after the sick and the vulnerable. Mr. Johnson, you have the chance to do the right thing. You can make the change required. You can pay us a fair and proper wage for the job that we do. If you're not for us, then you are against us. So please stop. You and Rishi Sunak and Matt Hancock, that triumvirate of conceit, deceit and exaggeration, platitudes, praise and empty words do not pay bills. Address the problems in nursing by paying us a proper salary, fill the vacancies that were there even before the pandemic, and let us deliver the care that our patients deserve. We will continue to campaign, but let me be clear. As I turn to number 11 Downing Street, we know who holds the purse strings, and we know you're making a political choice. Do not tell us it's unaffordable. Do not insult us with language like that when you can't afford not to address it. 1%, 1%, you can stick that where the sun don't shine, son. You can stick that where the sun don't shine. I've never been so angry in all my life. In Scotland, we have recommended that we reject 4%. Why? Because even that does not recuperate the losses experienced by nurses over the last 10 years. Even that does not recuperate, doesn't come anywhere near. But Scottish members, we need you to take up the opportunity to vote. We need you to give us our mandate. I then look to my colleagues in Wales. We need you all now to write to every Senate candidate in your area before the election as part of your Vote for Nursing campaign. Nurses in Wales are doing a fantastic job in raising the issues that matter most to your patients. And really, your politicians really need to hear you. I then turn to England and our friends across the water in Northern Ireland. We wait with bated breath, don't we, colleagues? We wait with bated breath in anticipation of the report that the PRB will provide to government and what the man behind that door is going to offer us as a wage increase. So what's next? Across all countries, we need you to talk to your colleagues about your campaign. This campaign is yours. We need you to talk to your family, to your friends, in the churches, in the parks. We need you to get out there and shout that nursing is a profession worth caring for. We need you to talk in your workplaces, in the communities, in the wards, in the departments. We need you wherever nurses work. We need you to talk. For goodness sake, nurses are blessed with the great skills of communications. That means we're fantastic talkers and good listeners. It's a pity the government don't listen more. They could take a leaf out of our book. Your union will be making sure that you're kept up to date as things progress here, and that you understand what the next steps are, how we will consult with you, we will share the information, and how we will ballot you if necessary. And if they don't back down and come back to the table, how we will look at industrial action. So get into your wards and departments, get into the community, everywhere you work. We have heard tonight why this pay campaign is important to you. It's also important to your patients, because without us having the staff to deliver the care, there's a figure that floats in the air. 30% of nurses currently in position are thinking of leaving, and the main reason is because of pay. And that's followed a close second by not having enough people to deliver the care to the patients of this country. And we're disgusted with the government, disgusted. We need to recruit more nurses. We need to deliver the care that our patients need. We stand outside Downing Street. We need everyone to sign the petition that we will deliver to number 10 Downing Street and Mr. Johnston. This is a fight for you. This is a battle for our patients. And this is a war for fair pay. Thank you, colleagues.
Yeah, just incredible, Graham. Thank you so much. Yeah, what a stirring speech and what a beautiful tribute to the nurses that you've lost. And my sincere condolences to everyone out there. And I'm sure there are lots of people out there who know people have passed away. That brings us to the end of the evening and the rally for tonight. But we know this is where the hard work starts. After I've had a debrief, I'm going to head over to Instagram, as I've said, and I'm going to get as many people on my social media to sign that petition tonight and to donate tonight. And yeah, I'm just going to give up comedy and just join the RCN trade union, I think. I've been really stirred tonight, and everyone has been so articulate, passionate, informative, educated. And what's really stuck out to me is that we do have this lovely soft image of nurses, and we forget you're experts. We don't forget, but we're not reminded you're experts, and you are multiple disciplinary experts in so many fields, and without you we'd be absolutely lost and this healthcare system would crumble. And we need the government to know how integral and critical you are to this country, and that you're not just standing by and will take what's been offered. It's 12.5% or nothing. Thank you so much for everyone who joined tonight. And I know that it is really hard to keep turning up and lacing up the bootstraps every day. But I'm really grateful that you're here, and I hope that I can help this fight, and I hope that I can help it be heard by more people. Thank you so much, everyone, and all the speakers tonight. If you're at home, if we can give a round of applause for every incredible speaker tonight. The people we saw and heard from were We had Tracy Budding from Bromsgrove. We had Carmel O'Boyle from Liverpool. We had Praline Beardall from New Edlington. We had Rebecca Lowe from Newcastle. We had Julie Lambeth from Kilmarnock. We had Lindsay Thompson from Bangor in Northern Ireland. We had Rhianne Wright from Cardiff, Vicky Brotherton from Plymouth. We had Ruth Bailey from Brighton, Eva Amondi from Luton, Pat Yigon was in the south side of London, and finally we had Graham Reevy. Thank you everyone for coming, and hopefully we'll see you on the streets at our next rally. Thank you so much. I've been Felicity Ward and it's been a privilege to be here. Thank you.